The Cleveland Browns have officially hit the boiling point. What started as quiet tension behind the scenes has now exploded into a full-blown locker room mutiny, and Shedeur Sanders is at the center of it all. Multiple reports from inside the Browns training facility confirm that during a recent closed practice session, players openly turned against Dillon Gabriel, throwing their full support behind Shedeur. And in that moment, the entire dynamic of the team shifted. It wasn't subtle. Teammates reportedly ignored Gabriel's calls and drills, refused to line up during one-on-one reps, and instead began hyping Shedeur as he took the field for practice snaps. For a franchise that's already been under fire for internal dysfunction, this was the clearest sign yet that Kevin Stefanski's control over the locker room is gone. Insiders describe the scene as awkward but inevitable, with players making it clear that they no longer believe Gabriel gives them the best chance to win. The tension had been building for weeks, but this particular practice session was the spark that lit the fuse. Witnesses say it started when Gabriel overthrew 2 consecutive receivers during a red zone drill, both balls landing out of reach despite clean routes. On the 3rd attempt, a frustrated receiver reportedly shouted, "Put Shedeur in!" The outburst drew laughter from some players and silence from others, but it sent a message that couldn't be ignored. Moments later, offensive coordinator Tommy Rees, who has been a longtime supporter of Shedeur, motioned for the rookie to take over reps. From that moment forward, the atmosphere changed. Players responded with energy, rhythm, and confidence. The offense suddenly clicked. Shedeur was hitting tight throws, reading coverage like a veteran, and commanding attention. By the end of the session, multiple players were cheering him on loudly while Gabriel stood off to the side, visibly uncomfortable. The footage of that session hasn't been released publicly, but word of what went down spread fast across the league. Analysts, insiders, and even former players are all saying the same thing. Shedeur Sanders didn't just win over the locker room that day, he became its leader. And it wasn't through speeches or theatrics, it was through performance, poise, and respect. As one anonymous player reportedly told a journalist, "When Shedeur steps on the field, everyone plays harder. It's different." That kind of organic leadership doesn't come from coaching. It comes from authenticity, something Cleveland's current regime has been lacking for years. But for every player who's inspired by Shedeur's rise, there's someone in management panicking about what it means for their authority. Because in one afternoon, the power in Cleveland shifted, from the coaches to the players. The fallout from that practice has been nothing short of chaos. According to multiple sources, the coaching staff immediately called a meeting with team captains to restore order, but the damage was already done. Players reportedly expressed frustration with Stefanski's decision-making, especially his insistence on keeping Dillon Gabriel as the starter despite his repeated struggles. One veteran player told reporters off the record, "We're tired of losing because of pride." That statement sums up the entire sentiment inside the locker room. This isn't about favoritism or rebellion. It's about players who feel their hard work is being wasted by a leadership team that refuses to adapt. And while Stefanski tried to frame the situation as a misunderstanding, insiders say it's much deeper than that. Tommy Rees, the offensive coordinator, is caught right in the middle. Known for his fiery competitiveness and dedication to player development, Rees has been quietly pushing for Shedeur to get more reps for weeks. During the practice meltdown, witnesses say Rees didn't stop the players from backing Shedeur. In fact, some believe he encouraged it. When Stefanski confronted him later, their exchange reportedly turned heated, with Rees telling the head coach, "You're losing them." That statement, if true, signals an even deeper power struggle brewing inside the Browns' coaching hierarchy. For years, the Browns have tried to maintain a culture built on order and discipline. But when discipline starts to look like stubbornness, the system begins to collapse, and that's exactly what's happening now. As for Dillon Gabriel, insiders describe his confidence as shaken. The once promising starter has struggled under the weight of mounting criticism, both from fans and teammates. Social media clips of his poor performances have gone viral, amplifying the pressure. Players reportedly don't rally around him anymore, not because they dislike him personally, but because they no longer believe he can command a huddle or close out tough games. In contrast, Shedeur's calm, measured demeanor has earned the respect of even the most skeptical veterans. Several offensive linemen reportedly approached him after the practice and told him, "You've got us." That's the kind of moment that transforms a team. The Browns front office is now stuck in an impossible position. They can't ignore the players' shift in loyalty, But promoting Shedeur to starter would effectively admit that their leadership failed. It would also create tension with Stefanski, whose grip on the locker room is already fragile. Insiders claim ownership is monitoring the situation closely, aware that a single misstep could turn this from a locker room problem into a franchise crisis. But for many inside the organization, that moment has already come and gone. What's happening now isn't just a quarterback controversy. It's a leadership revolution that's forcing the Browns to face uncomfortable truths about their identity and direction. The media frenzy surrounding the Browns has reached a fever pitch. Every sports network in America is covering the story, dissecting the footage, and debating what it means for Cleveland's future. ESPN analysts have called it one of the most publicized internal power shifts in modern football. Meanwhile, social media has turned Shedeur Sanders into both a hero and a symbol, a player who's challenging the system from the inside. Hashtags like #TeamShedeur and #BrownsRevolt are trending as fans rally behind the rookie. For many, Shedeur represents the one thing the Browns have been missing for decades: true leadership. Not the kind that comes from titles or coaching badges, but the kind that earns loyalty through respect. Kevin Stefanski's press conferences have done little to calm the storm. His responses have become robotic, filled with vague statements about team unity and trusting the process. But everyone watching can see the cracks forming. His authority has been questioned not only by players, but by members of his own staff. Reports say several assistants privately disagree with his decisions but feel powerless to intervene. That loss of faith internally is far more damaging than any public criticism. When a head coach loses the locker room, there's usually no coming back, and Stefanski's refusal to acknowledge the growing divide only makes it worse. Meanwhile, Tommy Rees's reputation within the organization has skyrocketed. Many players now view him as the real leader of the offense, the one who listens, adjusts, and puts players in the best position to succeed. Insiders say Rees's offensive meetings have become the heartbeat of the team, with Shedeur at the center of it all. It's not uncommon now for players to go directly to Rees for feedback instead of Stefanski, which only deepens the divide. One player reportedly said, "Coach Rees is the only one talking real football." That kind of statement may sound small, but in a tightly controlled environment like an NFL locker room, it's a sign of revolution. Even rival players have noticed. One anonymous AFC defender told reporters, "Cleveland's locker room is Shedeur's now, not the coach's." It's a bold claim, but it speaks to what everyone can see from the outside. The Browns aren't just divided, they're transforming, led by a rookie who's never started an NFL game but already commands the room like a seasoned veteran. What happens next will define not only the team's season but the careers of everyone involved. Behind closed doors, ownership is reportedly panicking. Sources inside the Browns front office say executives have begun holding containment meetings, trying to find ways to rebuild Stefanski's credibility without alienating the players who now follow Shedeur. The challenge is enormous. On one hand, they can't afford to lose the locker room entirely. On the other, they're afraid of undermining their coaching staff by giving in to player demands. It's a lose-lose situation, one that's quickly spiraling out of control. Reports indicate that ownership is now consulting external advisors and former NFL coaches to help navigate the situation, an unusual move that shows just how serious this has become. But no matter what decisions are made in boardrooms or press briefings, the players have already made their choice. Shedeur Sanders isn't just another rookie, he's become the emotional leader of this team. His humility, composure, and willingness to take accountability have earned him more respect than any coach's speech could. Even defensive players, who typically stay out of quarterback drama, have publicly praised his professionalism. That's how deep the impact has gone. As one veteran defensive back said, "You can't fake leadership. Either people follow you or they don't. And right now, we're following him." The tension between Shedeur and Gabriel has reached a silent breaking point. There's no animosity, but also no relationship. Players say the two barely speak outside of team obligations, and Gabriel has been noticeably isolated during recent practices. That kind of divide isn't sustainable in a sport built on chemistry. The Browns' offense has effectively split into two camps, one loyal to Shedeur, the other trying to stay neutral but quietly losing faith in Gabriel. The coaching staff's attempts to smooth things over have fallen flat, especially as media coverage continues to paint Shedeur as the rightful heir to the starting role. Across the league, executives are watching this unfold with fascination. Some see Shedeur's rise as proof that the next generation of players is taking control of their own narratives, less willing to be silenced or sidelined by old-school coaching politics. Others see it as a warning sign for organizations that fail to adapt to modern leadership dynamics. Either way, this story has gone far beyond Cleveland. It's become a league-wide talking point, a symbol of how quickly loyalty can shift when true leadership appears in the form of raw authenticity. As it stands now, the Browns are a team standing on the edge of history and collapse. The locker room has spoken, the fans have chosen their side, and the coaching staff is clinging to control. If Shedeur Sanders doesn't take the field soon, it could trigger an internal implosion unlike anything seen in recent NFL memory. Analysts are already predicting that Cleveland's ownership might have to intervene directly to avoid losing the season altogether. The writing is on the wall. This is no longer about one quarterback over another. This is about pride versus progress, about whether the Browns can evolve before it's too late. The next few games could define everything. If Gabriel continues to struggle and Stefanski refuses to make a change, fans will turn completely. Local radio stations are already calling for his resignation, and locker room insiders say even team captains have begun discussing alternative leadership. In football terms, that's code for mutiny. And while no player wants to publicly disrespect their coach, the silence from within the team says it all. Players are no longer buying into the system. They're following Shedeur instead. The irony is that Shedeur never asked for this spotlight. Everything he's done has been about discipline and preparation. But when leadership fails, true leaders naturally rise. And that's what's happened here. Even players outside of Cleveland are rooting for him. Former pros and commentators have started comparing his calm presence to that of early career Russell Wilson, noting how rare it is for a young player to earn this level of respect so quickly. The Browns may not realize it yet, but they're sitting on a generational leader who could change their entire identity if they just let him play. The situation has become the ultimate test of Cleveland's culture. Can they adapt to a new era of leadership, or will they crumble under their own ego? Because make no mistake, this isn't just a quarterback battle. It's a cultural reckoning inside a franchise known for chaos. And whichever way this story ends, it will be remembered as the moment Shedeur Sanders went from being a promising rookie to the heart and soul of a team that didn't even realize it was his yet. For more exclusive updates, locker room insights, and unfiltered NFL coverage, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Field Talk, where every story gets broken down, every truth gets uncovered, and every moment that shakes the league gets brought straight to you.